Hello everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Life After Loss. My name is Lindsay. We are going to focus this month on discussing the various topics related to grief and the holidays of not just any year, but the year 2020. Let me just preface it with that, because as we had mentioned previously, this particular year has been a year of transition. It's been a year of loss. But it's also been a year of reflection, of actually understanding, evaluating what really matters. We, time and time again, come to the same conclusion, which is it's the people around us that matter. It's not the job, it's not the money, it's not any fancy vacations. It's simply being able to have your loved ones and have your health. Today specifically, I'm going to focus on talking about the grief experience as it relates to the secondary losses as we approach the holiday season. Because of COVID-19, we have been experiencing a different kind of holidays due to the social limitations. We're not supposed to be, for the most part, having any huge gatherings. And also even our one-to-one interactions with one another, they're so limited, where it's almost like when I go outside and I see someone that I know, like sometimes I don't know, do I hug them? Do I give them a handshake? Do I kind of just give the air pump? Like, what is it that we do? And I feel like I'm not the only one that goes through that. I've seen that kind of interaction with strangers where it's like, I want to, but I can't, I shouldn't, I want to keep you safe. Even experiencing that in itself is a loss. As we're approaching the holidays, many of us can agree that we are feeling exhausted. We are feeling depleted. We are feeling like if one more thing happens, I don't know if I'll be able to, handle it. For many of us, this has tested truly like our limits and beyond. This has truly tested what we're able to tolerate, and perhaps has forced us to truly dig deep in places that we didn't even know we had inside, right? So some of us can be perhaps experiencing a little bit more of irritation. So perhaps we're getting frustrated more easily. Perhaps we're experiencing sadness that's different than before. Perhaps we're getting more angry. Perhaps we're feeling that inner resistance, as I call it. Anytime you feel that tension, that discomfort, when you're asked or you have to do something, it's because your body physically is literally resisting it. So for instance, I'm currently teaching in another country, and for a couple of months I was teaching in person, right? And then the minute we shifted to online learning, I just felt my body tensing up. I felt like, what the heck? What is going on? Like, things were going so well. I just had to sit down and reflect that, no, this is my way of resisting the change, because it's been ongoing changes, ongoing transition. Some of the secondary losses that we have experienced this year as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic have been the loss of norm, as we have already discussed, the loss of health, the loss of purpose. For many of us, we were establishing our purpose based on our careers, based on what we had going on in our lives, in our daily routines, and our activities. And now that has practically been stripped away from us, it's like, what the heck do I do now? Like, who am I if not with all these things? We've also experienced the loss of financial stability, which has been a big thing for a lot of people. Listen, when you don't know where you're going to get your next meal, or how you're going to pay rent, or whatever the case may be, that puts a level of stress on you that, again, it causes so many physical symptoms. You start to get sick emotionally, physically, and it's not a nice feeling, especially when you have a family to take care of. And the actual physical loss of loved ones. So many people have experienced loss. And again, that's a different kind of loss because of everything that was a part of it, right? So having the limitation of not being able to be with those people when they passed away, or being able to say goodbye, or not being able to have, that funeral service, or however you were gonna say your goodbyes to your loved one after they passed, not being able to have that, being stripped from that because of the virus. It's very taxing, and I don't think that's something that people are going to be able to even start to process until many, many years to come, right? So now, what can we expect for the holidays this year? What we can expect and probably have already witnessed, and as I mentioned, is that the holidays this year are going to look and feel differently. They are. It's a year that's going to be unforgettable. It's also the last month of the year. It's like not knowing what more to expect, right? Like, is this the end of it? Are we like in safe territory, or is this just the start of it? All of these experiences and emotions are simply symptomatic of the grief that we are all feeling, whether we are conscious or unconscious about. It is the literal WTF. So it's not being able to figure out if you're going left or right, right? So many of us are experiencing the loss of having direction, the loss of what the future should have looked like, and now all that has been compromised. Before we proceed, just understand that experiencing any of these feelings and anything else, like there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with how your body's reacting to it. In fact, like, this is a very normal and natural, and I think even expected way for people to react. Understand that there are many of us struggling, right, with these changes and the disruption to our stability. So while it doesn't take away from your personal experience, from your individual experience, I think it helps to feel a little bit more connected, because sometimes we feel like, okay, I'm the only one experiencing, I'm the only one feeling like crap or whatever. But when I speak to friends, when I speak to even strangers and they tell me their experience, I'm like, here I was thinking I was the only one. No, you're not. Going back to the question for the 10th time, how will this affect the holidays? Well, for one, the social restrictions, as I mentioned, will definitely affect it, because again, for gatherings, it's very limited. And even if you guys do decide to gather with families or loved ones, it's like now you have that kind of hanging over your head. Okay, what if something happens? So it's like, are you really able to truthfully enjoy holidays 100%? I don't know. My guess is perhaps not, because you have that kind of uncertainty, and it just takes one person to be like, well, this person attended this festivity and they got sick, and all of a sudden it's a crap storm all around. We've lost the ability to also hug and just be connected with someone. So not being able to gather, not being able to even on an individual basis have that interaction. What are some of the things that we can do during this time, if any? Or are we just screwed? Are we screwed, Lindsay? Is this just like, should we just throw in the towel? Well, no, guys, do not throw in the towel. I promise you, if you are still here, it is for a reason. There is still some purpose. First and foremost, you need to start by acknowledging that everyone is feeling the loss differently. So some people may be looking forward towards those virtual celebrations, whether it's through Zoom or FaceTime or whatever the case may be. Sometimes, people are like excited. Like, I know some of my friends were like, yes, we're gonna have happy hour over Zoom and it's gonna be so much fun. That's fine. And then you can have someone else saying, oh my gosh, like, no, this is not the same. Like, I don't want this. I don't like this. Like, I want to be able to hold my family or be with my family or my loved ones or whatever the case may be. No experience is wrong. It's just, again, the way the person's perception is, the way they're reacting to it, the way they have been feeling emotionally, right? Because again, we can't control how we feel and react towards things. It's just the way things are sometimes. A second tip is to give yourself and others permission to hurt. So allow yourself to say and process the things that you would have wanted to do during this holiday season. I would have wanted to go to grandma's house. I would have wanted to cook for my family. I would have wanted to go to dinner with my friends, with my loved ones, whatever it is. Say those things, because when we say it, they come out of our brain, they come out of our heart, and they are out in the universe. Yes, I wanted to. And I know that right now, perhaps I'm a little bit more limited towards being able to do many of those things. However, after we have said and we have processed and we have acknowledged and accepted that these were the things that we wanted to do, but perhaps are not able to do, now, how can we perhaps create an experience that is not quite the same, but what can we take out of the things that we wanted to do? What can we take out and still have? So again, if you wanted to share a meal, okay, can we do something as far as being in a park? I'll sit in this bench, you'll sit in that bench. I understand I can't hug you. I understand I can't kiss you. I can't touch you. But at least we're in the same physical space. I can see you more than just a screen, right? And if you don't have that ability to be able to have a sit down at a park or at a, large enough venue, then yes, Zoom, virtual meetings, some way, somehow, those are your next go-to. You're still able to see. The other day, literally, I had breakfast with myself, and during that time, I had my mentor on FaceTime, and I had the best time. I didn't even realize after a certain time that she was on the phone. We were literally cracking up like two crazy people, and I'm sure everyone at the cafe was wondering what's wrong with this girl, but I had such a great time. Again, when you release the expectation and just appreciate whatever's in front of you for what it is, then you're able to kind of enjoy it a little bit more, right? So again, just find a balance. It's being able to grieve and process what you would have wanted to have during this time, but it's also like, okay, where do we go from here? How do I create my new traditions for now, at least? And also safety first, guys. This has been brought up to my attention time and time again, where people have felt pressured, have felt whatever you want to call it, to attend gatherings, quite large gatherings, because they don't want to make their family or their friends feel bad. Guess what? When you go against what you in your gut, in your heart, in your intuition, whatever you want to call it, when you go against that, usually things go wrong, because we learn to mistrust ourselves, we learn to do things beyond our will, and then we realize, I should have listened to myself. So better to be safe than sorry. You don't want to live with the guilt of knowing that because of you, or you were around that, someone got sick or you yourself got sick. Please don't. Please don't. I'd rather your family or your friends or whoever be pissed off at you. They can be pissed off. They will get over it. However, if you get sick, that's a different story, right? Because we all respond very differently to this virus. Also, give yourself credit for everything that you have accomplished this year, because it has been a lot. I don't care if you cannot think of one thing right now that you've accomplished, but I promise you, if you are watching this video, it's because you have survived, and you have done more than survive. Right now, that is all that is required from people, to simply survive, to simply be, to simply understand that even though this feels like it's never going to end, that everything, including this experience, is temporary. And I promise you that we are going to find a way out of this, find a way to build, to grow, because that's just what we do as human beings, right? When tomorrow becomes too overwhelming, think about right now. I don't think there's a better time to actually, that saying has held so much weight, because again, we are certainly not promised tomorrow, right? We get sick today and we'll drop that tomorrow. Not to be too morbid, guys, but that's the reality of it, where we simply can only focus on the right now, because God knows what else is going to happen tomorrow, and tomorrow will have its own challenges, its own greatness, and we will experience it when the time comes, and if the time comes, right? Because sometimes we do the double worrying. We worry about it today, and then we also worry it during the actual whatever thing that happens, or if it even happens. And also reach out. As like I said earlier, we are all struggling to a certain capacity. So sometimes it's actually very cathartic and healing to be able to talk to someone and actually hear their actual experience, because you're like, wow, me too. And just the fact to be able to say me too and feel that, it's actually very healing. And make sure that whatever plans you choose, they align with you, boo. You. Yes, you. Not the other person, not anyone else, not your family, not your friends. You. Because when you put yourself in situations that you don't necessarily vibe with or feel comfortable with, guess what? You get mad, you get frustrated, you get sad, you feel disconnected, you feel like nobody gets you. Why? Because you put yourself in a situation or in an environment that simply does not align with you. If you are not, let's say, someone that likes to be around drinking or don't like drinking yourself, then why then would you go to a bar or somewhere where you know people are going to get drunk? And again, make sure, this is my final suggestion, make sure that you give yourself breathing breaks. I know it sounds silly. I know it sounds like, well, duh, we're breathing, aren't we? No. Sometimes we're going and feeling like we have to do the most. as if we are robots when we are not. We are human beings. So for once in your life, be. I hope this has been helpful. I am sending nothing but love and peace during this very difficult time, because I know it can be a very difficult time for many. And I promise you, I guarantee you that this, like everything else in life, including ourselves, is temporary. So I thank you. If you haven't already done so, please make sure to subscribe to my channel, Life After Loss. Also turn those notifications on, because we're just starting this month. Like, this is just the start of our conversation. So definitely want to get notified of my upcoming videos. Also, make sure to follow me on Instagram. And guess what? Your girl's on Twitter. I haven't posted yet, but that's in the works. It's _LifeAfterLoss. So it has changed. So for the ones already following me, thank you. And for ones that haven't, please follow your girl. All right. Remember, there is no right or wrong way to grieve. There is simply your way. Much love.